when it comes to long term, that's already being talked out. People are talking about Russell Wilson signing a long-term deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jared Dulac tweeted it out during the Justin Fields trade stuff, saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers are expected to extend Russell Wilson or sign a longer-term deal at the end of the season. When you hear that, what is your? I think there's parts to this, but what are your initial thoughts when you hear that tweet?
That it's kind of a bold prediction for this point in
Yeah.
this point in the calendar. If Russ plays well, I'd absolutely see it, but that's really what it's contingent on. It's a real simple and it's kind of obvious, but Russ has got to play well to earn a second contract and earn a second chance in Pittsburgh. That's not to say that I think he will play decently well this season. I have a lot of faith in him, but it's got to happen, right? Like, there's a reason they're signing it at the end of this season as opposed to when they first signed him. I think the Steelers want to see it too. So I think they'd like to be able to sign him long term. I think they would be happy if Wilson does work out and they can keep him for another year or two or more. But like I said, it's gotta actually happen on the field, because that's the other thing. If Wilson does play well, it's going to cost him some money to keep him in Pittsburgh. A veteran, if you're a quarterback who leads a team to the playoffs and makes a run in the playoffs, then you cost some money. And so the Steelers have to be ready to spend that. And I don't know if like I said, there's a reason they are saying they're going to do the report was that they're going to do this at the end of the season as opposed to right now.
I agree. I read that and I said, you have no idea if that's going to happen. Like, I get it that that's what somebody inside the building says, and maybe that's somewhat of a belief right now. But I think more so than not, it's just a publicity stunt. It's just this is the Steelers making it look good, making it look like they're all in on Russell Wilson, which they should be. They should be all in on Russell Wilson. That guy gives them an opportunity to win. He's a veteran, but I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody has any idea what's going to happen. Everybody a week ago, 2 weeks ago, was talking about, is Russell Wilson going to go to a new team and bring the last 2 years in Denver, or is he going to bring the first 8 years in Seattle? Who are you going to get out of Russell Wilson? And I think that's still a question mark. And I don't know that who you're going to get. And I think you have to wait to find that out. And if you do get the first 8 years of Russell Wilson and he leads you to a Super Bowl and you do all these crazy things, then you look at this and you say, well, okay, why would you not bring Russell Wilson back? But at the same time, how much is he going to cost? How much does it hurt your team? Omar Khan is that. That's the thing with Omar Khan. There's nothing here. Like, Omar Khan is all about, how do I win? How do I make this team better? He's not going to sign you because that's the right thing to do. Kevin Colbert would have signed you because that's the right thing to do. He would have, but we would have never been in this situation. It would have been Jacoby Brissett and Kenny Pickett, because it would have been somebody that wouldn't threaten Kenny Pickett, and there would have been no issues, and this would have been drama-free, and the Steelers would have stunk in 2024. But it's not where they are. Omar Khan's a different GM. I don't know. My thoughts were exactly what yours were. It's early. It's too early to think about something like that. I think there's a possibility that you see enough out of Justin Fields, even as a backup, that you could extend him. You don't have to pick up his fifth-year option, but that doesn't mean that you can't extend Justin Fields. It doesn't mean that you can't look at this. I mean, you have to remember, he wanted to come to Pittsburgh. There were other offers on the table, reportedly, and he chose the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you could look at that and say, okay, maybe you add another year or 2 years to Justin Fields' deal at the end of the season, and you do it for cheaper than his fifth-year option is going to be, and now you have a cheaper option who's 25, turning 26 years old. Russ did really well, but, he's not your guy. Maybe Justin Fields is your guy. So I think it's way too early. I think there's more of a possibility maybe that happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you don't pick up, I don't know, maybe that's not true. I think you pick up Justin Fields for a reason. Like, I think you pick him up as insurance. I don't think this was just a flyer, and I don't think he was just there because, or that they picked him up just because he was there. Like, there was real interest in Justin Fields for a while. So I think they see Justin as a viable option moving forward if Russ doesn't work out, but Russ is plan A and Fields is plan B.
Yeah, agreed. But if Justin Fields doesn't play until he's 27 years old, that's still young for a quarterback. You still got plenty of time with them. If you could develop behind Russ for 2 years and you extend Russ for, like, you add one more season to Russell Wilson's deal and that's it, cool. But you're not signing a 37-year-old quarterback to a 5-year deal and saying, that's our guy, man. That's, at that point, you're getting yourself into a Denver Broncos situation, and Omar Khan's not going to do that. So I think it's almost just as realistic that the Pittsburgh Steelers keep Justin Fields around longer than Russell Wilson as it is that they extend Russell Wilson. It's just way too early in the process to have any idea how that goes down. What are your expectations for Russell Wilson? Like, I think that that's a question that, you know, you get tossed out there, and again, there's two sides to the coin. Are you going to get the first 8 years of Seattle? Or are you going to get right now? What are your expectations for this guy? Like, do you expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to be contenders, or do you just, I don't know, where do you sit?
I mean, I do. And I think if you get last year's Russell Wilson, then you can be a contender. If you get 3,000 yards, close to 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 picks, you can be a contender with that.
Yeah.
I think you absolutely can. I don't think you'll get, you know, the first 8 years of Seattle version of Russ. I don't think you'll get, you know, a guy who was, you know, an offensive player of the year candidate, an all pro guy. Like, I don't know if you're going to get that. He might not even make a Pro Bowl, but I think he'd be good. I think he can be good enough. Like that second year in Denver, and especially the second half of it was pretty decent, you know?
Yeah, not bad.
And I have to imagine I think he's walking into a better situation here in Pittsburgh than he was in Denver. Just from a weapons for standpoint, from a stability standpoint, from, you know, a rest of the team standpoint, a roster building standpoint, this is a better situation. So I think that Wilson is set up for success. I think he can capably run an offense, and this is still going to be an offense that centers around the run game. So I think life will be somewhat easy on Russ, and that he'll be able to deliver in the bigger moments. I you know, in this AFC, you can't say, oh, he's going to lead him to a Super Bowl. You know, that's just, if you're betting against Patrick Mahomes, it's probably a losing bet. But I think he can definitely improve their ceiling. I think they are a surefire playoff team at this point. And just how far they go in those playoffs, I'm not sure. But that's the question. It's not, oh, are they going to squeak into the playoffs? It's how far can they go in the playoffs at this point?
I agree. That's exactly where I stand. Is that Russell Wilson brings the floor to a playoff team, and the ceiling to, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Kansas City. We'll see how good Kansas City is this season. We'll see if Baltimore can win a couple of playoff games. But Russ is the type of dude that you want here. My expectations are high. I'm not a down on Russ type of guy. I'm not a down on Justin Fields type of guy. I'm not a down on this offense type of guy. I think right now the Pittsburgh Steelers have done so much. And then the best part about it, the most like quiet part about the whole situation is they've done all of this, and you're going to focus on players more than you're going to focus on anything else. But running the show is Arthur Smith, who, like, this is a guy who's very well known around the NFL, who people have nothing but praise for, who, I mean, like, it gets skewed sometimes. You know what I mean? If you went to a different organization, you have a lot better things to say about Mike Tomlin than if you went to a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and talked about Mike Tomlin. And I think that's how Arthur Smith is. If you talk to other teams who have worked with Arthur Smith or have heard about Arthur Smith, it's all great things to say. Whereas in Pittsburgh, it's like, okay, look at moving with a sense of caution here because you just don't know. I think that they put the perfect piece to lead the way, like a proven commodity of just like, hey, this is it. And then you don't have to worry about developing a quarterback. You got a quarterback. His name's Russell Wilson. He could develop himself. So I think they did that just perfectly.